Like, you have a minute. All right, hey, Lisa. Ethan, how are you? Well, with that, I am pleased to welcome you to this meeting of the Active Recreation Asset Working Group. My name is Heidi Frail, and sorry, I feel like I should be standing, but this is where the microphone is, so I'm going to stay here. If people didn't hear you online, they won't be able to hear you. Oh, all right. Well, then still, well, you can stand. Yes, I feel like that's appropriate here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Heidi Frail. I'm a representative from the Select Board and co-chair of the Active Recreation Asset Working Group. I want to welcome you here to this public hearing. We are excited to see you and appreciate your participation tonight. My co-chair, Matt Morelli, could not be with us, but I'm going to, in a moment, we'll go around and we'll just introduce all of the participants here on the in the working group so that you know who you're speaking with. I'm going to ask people who want to make a comment to raise your hand. We'll call on you, and I'll ask you to come and sit up here in front of this microphone, speaking into the microphone, but still projecting so that everyone here can hear you and everyone on the line can hear you. Okay, we are recording this and it will be on the town's YouTube page soon. I want to remind everyone that this meeting is about our public outdoor recreation. We're not talking tonight about indoor activity. Okay, so that's one thing you should know. I'd like to ask you, please, to keep your comments brief. We're going to try for a 3-minute limit, and also to recognize that many of you may have the same interests in common. So we're going to try to have, you know, a representative speaker for the various groups. If you feel that your point wasn't covered, you can certainly raise your hand. We'll have you come up and add to the point. But if your point was already expressed, feel free to come up and say, I agree with the previous speaker. But because we're here to listen to all different groups and all different interests, we want to make sure that we leave room and not, for example, only hear about pickleball. I know. So, if you'll please be kind and considerate in your comments and kind and considerate in your time allotment, we would really appreciate it because we really do want to hear from everyone. We are here to listen. This is not going to be a conversation. Please come up and express yourselves, but don't be surprised if you don't get, comments in return. That's not what tonight is for. We're going to be taking all these comments back and processing them and debriefing afterwards. If you couldn't be here tonight, or you have something that you think of after the meeting, feel free to email us. You can email OTM@needhammass or needhamna.gov. That's Office of the Town Manager. Okay, because we're still going to be taking public comment. And I will remind you that later on, we'll have a second public meeting once we sort of debrief and put together a plan so that everyone can give feedback on the plan. Okay. So with that, I've already introduced myself. I'd like to just go around the circle and project your name and where you're from.
Good evening, everyone. Katie King, Assistant Town Manager, Director of Operations.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Conley. I'm on this committee as a member of the town's finance committee.
I am Frederica Lalonde. I am on the Commission of Parks and Rec.
I'm Stacy Muller. I'm the Director of Park and Recreation.
Hello, I'm Sarah Nachasik. I'm on the committee as a community member at large.
I'm Susan Welby. I'm on the committee representing the CPC, Community Preservation.
Oh, right. And Michelle, sorry.
I'm Michelle Geddes. I'm on the Park and Rec Commission.
Okay, so we'll be switching back and forth for comments between the group assembled in the room, and also the group assembled on Zoom. We'll start, I think, in the room. So go ahead and raise your hand if you have something you wanted to say. All right, Steve.
Good afternoon, evening.
Wait, one other thing, just as you come up and you're making your comments, we're going to need to have you announce your name and your address, please.
Paul Basperosa, 27 Edgewood Street, Needham. I did just want to ask very quickly, in terms of dialogue, how long it took you guys to come up with the name of this committee? Well, I am here on behalf of the Needham Pickleball Group. I have addressed this esteemed committee on a couple of occasions in the past. And 13 months ago, there were 4 of us in the Needham Pickleball Group. We have grown exponentially to a point now as of 5 p.m. this evening. There are 944 people in the Needham Pickleball Group. About 75% of them are Needham residents. And we are in dire need of space, which obviously you're aware of. I know it's on the agenda and it's something y'all have been talking about. But the reality is the resources that we have available to us now are grossly overused. We have, on average, when we're outdoors, but now all indoors now because Mills is closed. But on average, we have anywhere from 80 to 90 people playing a day at Mills on just 4 courts. To give you an example of what's happening in other towns, Brookline has a population of 60,000 people as of 2020. They have 30 multi-purpose courts. They share them with the tennis people and they coexist very peacefully. We have 7 courts here in town, 3 of which we can't really use during school hours because they're high school, and 4 of which we use at Mills. And we have many people waiting and the tennis courts are not used. So short term, in terms of why we're here today, is we would like to get all of the courts at Mills multi-use and peacefully coexist with tennis people, which we rarely see early in the mornings. Right up till noontime, there's just not a lot of people playing tennis. And as you look long-term for a home for Needham Pickleball, I'm hearing unofficially that we're talking 2 or 4 courts. That's grossly short-sighted for what's going to happen. This sport is exploding. Kids are now getting involved. They're going to move us old timers off of it in just a matter of time. So I just implore you to look at other towns, what they've done, and 8 to 12 courts, I think, dedicated to pickleball on the long term would be what really should be appropriate for this town. So I hope you take that into consideration, and thank you for your time.
Okay, I just want to remind the folks that are on the Zoom that if you want to speak, you want to raise your hand with the little click hand button, okay? Because that's how we're gonna know that you want to make a comment. So we'll be looking for you. Okay, sorry, Phil.
My name is Bill Paulson, and I live at 111 Sutton Road here in Needham. I'm here to speak on behalf of the 3,000 approximately dog owners that live in the town of Needham, and ask your consideration to look at the possibility of additional off-leash options for dogs in Needham. Today, the only off-leash option is the dog park, which is off of Pine Street, way out in on the Dover side of town. And like other towns around us, I'm looking for you to consider off-leash in a wider program. So some of the benefits for off-leash for dogs, socialization provides many physical, mental, and behavioral benefits for dogs. It gives them a great workout, which makes them calmer and better behaved dogs at home. It gives them better manners. The dogs learn social cues from other dogs through that play. And it builds confidence. It teaches them to deal with the unexpected, basically, as things happen at the dog park. And you end up with less destructive behavior at home. Your dog chews on things at home because it's got energy built up that it doesn't know what to do with. And so you get less of that at home, that they get a good chance to run around in the morning. It's more fun. I mean, it's just darn fun to see the dogs play in an open setting where they can chase each other and run around and roll and jump on each other. It's just great. And it really is, it helps you in other forms of training. When you're trying to train your dog to do other things, if you've done some work off leash in an off leash environment they know how to come, they know how to behave, they know when they're going to get treats and why. It helps you with other kinds of training. It also benefits the owners. COVID has resulted in a lot of isolating behavior among everybody. I'm sure everybody realizes that and has recognized that in their own space. And any kind of opportunity to get out of your house and meet with other people and talk to them is gold. And we should be looking to encourage that, which I guess is what you guys are all about, right? So I think that's really important. And it also is a really wonderful way to welcome new people to the town of Needham. We had a woman pop by our dog group at one point, just happened upon us. And she ended up coming regularly. And afterwards, she said it was a really wonderful way for her and her kids to become welcomed into the community. Like she could ask us questions about how do you do this? Or how do you do that? And it was really great for her. Other towns, in particular, Newton has 7 parks and playgrounds, only 3 of which are fenced in. The others are just playgrounds or parks, and where dogs are allowed. Brookline has 14 parks. Some of them are dawn to 9 o'clock in the morning. Some of them are dawn to 1 in the afternoon, and some of them have longer hours in the winter. Wellesley has Centennial Park, where you can take your dog off leash, and there's a big loop that you can walk around. Plus, there's a couple open areas where dogs just play. And then they also have Perrin Park, which has off-leash hours, 7 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. For the most part, there's some adjustments to that, but that's generally what their hours are. So there are problems with dogs, and that's one reason why dogs aren't allowed off-leash everywhere. There's some problems that come up. Dog poop is something that we have to deal with, and you know, it's a fact of life. You know, the dogs, even on leash, sometimes leave poops. It really is up to the owner to be responsible for that. Additional signage and poop bags and barrels would really help in the areas where we're going to allow for off leash. And dogs that are not under voice control can be a problem. If your dog's not under voice control and it runs around off and chases something and doesn't come back, then that can be a problem for the owner as much as for anybody else. But I think that there is a possibility for us to create like an off-leash tag, which some of these towns have. And I'm almost done, I promise. And And sticks on the field, I think that a lot of us that go regularly to places pick up the sticks from the field and throw them in the woods, and I think we can encourage that. And winter usage, I mean, there's nobody playing on the fields this time of year. So it would be great to allow the dogs to be there, certainly. So I think there's a lot of options and things to consider. But we really love to have it be something that the committee considers in terms of active outside recreation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a follow-up to that.
Okay, we'll get to everyone. We're going back and forth. I have a follow-up to Paul. Okay, about pickleball. So I am Lisa Rhodes. I live at 19 Washburn Avenue. Thank you for hearing us out today. I first wholeheartedly agree with everything that Bob said. I did want to add just a little bit more information and data. I very much appreciate that you all are considering dedicated pickleball in Needham. And I want to provide more information to suggest that the 2 to 4 courts are completely insufficient for the size of our group. As Paul had mentioned, we had an average of 80 to 90 players every day. And on the weekends that exceeded 100 every Saturday and Sunday. I wanted to do the math for you. Over the 3 seasons that the courts are open, this amounts to 20,000 players on an annual basis. There is no other activity that comes anywhere close to that level of participation. We span every generation. We played with kids, teenagers, all the way up to folks in their 80s. We never doubt anything, play with anyone, it's always a fun time. We've already outgrown the available number of courts in town, the 4 at Mills and the 3 at the high school, and it defies logic to reduce the number of courts to less than half that while our group continues to grow. We are asking for more courts, but we aren't asking for much land. Every court needs only 1,800 square feet, as you know. By way of comparison, we could fit 169 pickleball courts in the proposed land allotted for the dog parks. I'm all for dog parks. I'm merely bringing this up to illustrate that what we're asking for is not very much land. I did email a statement before the meeting. I think it was forwarded today. It has my contact information. If you have any questions about where I got this data, any follow-up, feel free to reach me. On behalf of the 20,000 annual players, I appreciate your time and thank you for considering our request for 10 to 12 pickleball. Yeah, in the back there.
Lolly Weeks, 20 Great Plain Terrace. I just wanted to kind of piggyback on some of what Bill shared, that's awesome, in regards to dogs. And I did bring a packet, kind of backing up a lot of what he discussed, including some of the articles documenting some of the benefits for off-leash play. And it really does reinforce socialization and training for dogs, so they're actually better with the general public as well. And then I also took the liberty of pulling up some of the regulations and programs that are in the surrounding towns that allow off-leash play in parks and things, where there's special licensing or programs, including the Boston Common, which has a program for off-leash play in just different rotating designated areas on the common. So much more dense than Brookline has a very well-defined licensing program and signage, which I've included copies of all of that in here, and there are links, and I'm happy to leave these for you guys. Not obviously a discussion for any definitive discussion, but I can share the Google Doc as well. But just to broaden the scope, I mean, it's not, there are lots of ticks up at that dog park up on Pine Street. It's not really a comfortable place for women to be alone up in the woods. It's, you know, really not accessible for a broad majority of dog owners on any kind of regular basis. So just wanted to voice an opinion for the group in terms of broadening the perspective of how we might open things up for dog owners.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Are we looking? Yeah. Okay. All right, so there's nobody online, so you wanna come on up from the back there?
Hi, my name is Valerie Mayo. I'm at 15 Park Ave. And it's a continuation of the dog, the request to consider some activities and space for the dogs. So you've already heard, and I'm sure this packet I haven't seen, but it sounds wonderful because it probably includes the information that most of the surrounding towns have a much more robust programming for dogs than we do. So we're really missing and lacking. It's something that I think we should really be aware of. Specifically, in addition to all the ideas that are out there, I really want to propose and hope that you'll discuss the idea of making town forest accessible. So there's a difference between playing fetch with your dog in a dog park or in a playground, which is great. And then there's another set of people who like to hike, walk, and run with their dog, which I'm one of those, and I go out probably 5-6 times a week, but I go to Wellston, or I go to Dover, or I go somewhere else, but I can't go to my own town forest to do that. And I think that would be, I think the town forest is big enough to share, so I hope we can talk about that and find some ways to share town forest. Some of the reasons I think is, one, it'd be really easy to implement if it gets passed, the town forest, not a lot of rules or regulations, if it was accessible. It's big enough. It's grossly underused. If anybody has ever gone there, you'll see 1-2 cars on a good day, and on a bad day, none. I mean, you could, I don't know how we justify that. We'd have to go and actually, monitor it, but that's pretty much acceptable that there's no cars in the parking lot. Anytime I do go, I'm lucky if I see one person walking in the woods. So it's underutilized. By comparison, if we go to Centennial or to Noanette Woods in Dover, parking lots are full. On a rainy day, a snowy day, a cold day, doesn't matter, they're full. And if you drive right over, I've done this as a test, drive right over to town forest and see, after coming from a parking lot full, again, the parking lot's empty, the town forest, so underutilized. When we think about, I hope, whether this makes sense or not, I know we hear a lot of voices that have concerns and issues about off-leash dogs and their ability to walk there. I just hope we'll compare to things that are comparisons, such as Centennial and Noanette Woods, and not compare to Cutler, which is of course not a Needham property, which is a very highly trafficked area, very different type of situation. And often when I bring this up, I do hear from people who say, well, Cutler's terrible, the dogs jump on me and whatever. Well, there's no off leash there. So we can't compare and listen to that voice, because that's not what we're proposing. We're proposing that an underutilized space of forested area could be a place where dogs could be. Very unlike Cutler. So I just hope that, and also the concerns that people talk about not being under voice control, walking dogs on leash in the neighborhood and being having dogs react to each other or jump on each other is again a different situation than one would encounter if you were in the town forest walking, hiking, or running with your dog. So that's it. I just hope that we consider the forested. I say town forested, it might be another place, but to me that's most obvious.
Thank you. Thank you. On over. Hi, my name is Karen Bello. I live at 50 Fuller Road. I'm here to talk about humans. I have 2 children. I've been a resident in Needham for about 10 years, and a child at Pollard and a child at NHS. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak this evening, and grateful to the working group for listening to our ideas and concerns. Over the course of my time in Needham, I became aware of a real lack of diversity in the types of active recreation spaces that we have here in town. When my kids were little, we really enjoyed the playgrounds that were available for preschool and elementary age school children. But we realized as they got older that we age out of playgrounds in Needham. And I've been told that we should never age out of playing outside. So if we want older kids and adults in our community to get off their screens, and play and to socialize and be active for their lifetime, then we need to create spaces where it's appropriate for them to do that. It's not appropriate for older kids to be kicking little kids off of their miniature play spaces at the elementary schools. So, a lot of times we hear that the older kids have plenty of ball fields, but if you're not a competitive team sport kid, then you don't take advantage of ball fields that we have here in Needham. And there are a lot of other ways to be active and athletic.
So I've come here tonight with some groupies to request that consideration be given to creating an action park. Ideally, an action park would include skate ramps and elements, a pump track, and other features for bikers, skaters, parkour, wheelchair users, scooter users. It includes a lot of different types of activities. It creates a safe and inclusive space for ages spanning preschool. We'll use test trucks on ramps and play with gravity, to little kids learning how to ride their scooters and skateboards for the first time, to adults that actually still enjoy playing. When we go to other spaces in Alston and Brighton and Norfolk and West Roxbury, we see BMX, we see mountain bikes, we see wheelchairs, we see scooters, we see skateboards, roller skates, inline skates, all being used by people of all ages. And it creates an active opportunity for community building and learning from one another. Needham residents travel all over to take advantage of things we could build pretty cheaply in our own town. And what I've learned from some of my research is that if you invest in a concrete action park, you have very little maintenance costs over time. So you have, one-time investment for decades. It doesn't need a lot of upkeep. So I thank you for your consideration. We have some kids, I don't know if they're brave enough to come up and say they agree. But I know we also have some at home that would rather be out playing than coming to a meeting. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephen Dewey. I'm a lifelong resident of Needham. I live on Sutton Road. I bought the Fazio Sports Complex, and I'm going to speak on behalf of in favor of some off-leash dog areas in town. But I'm going to speak at it from a slightly different perspective. I'm a senior citizen now. I'm a taxpayer. I listen to and love the fact that we have sports fields across from Sutton Road. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of traffic, and there's lights, and that's fine. And I think that's a wonderful thing that the town has. But it's particularly bothersome to me as a senior citizen that there's a thought in town that the fields are only for the use of our children. That's not true. I mean, I'm an adult. I would like to use the various fields in town in a manner that, I would like. Prior to the ban on dogs being allowed over at the DeFazio Field Complex, I would get up every morning and walk my dog around the field before going to work, something I certainly can't do by getting into a car and driving halfway to Wellesley or all the way to Wellesley practically to do. So, from a senior citizen's perspective, I would just like to put in the fact that, yes, I'm a taxpayer. I would like the town field use to be geared towards some needs of myself and other senior citizens. And, at the same time, I fully support the pickleball courts for senior citizens town. I think we're a town rich in resources with many, many fields. And I think this town, amongst many towns, should be able to accommodate all the suggestions being put forth here tonight. So thank you very much.
Anybody else? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Bill Hubbard. I live at 967 Webster Street, Needham, Mass. 02492. And I agree with everything that was said about the dog park and the pickleball park and things of that nature. And I just want to point out one additional thing in favor to advocate for these dog areas that would be off leash, either because of where they're located or by time or some combination of both. And that from my personal point of view, in my personal experience, it would encourage people, senior citizens, to get out of their houses and walk to these areas, not necessarily get in a car and drive somewhere. And so I'm hope to advocate for areas throughout Needham that you could get out of your house and walk and encourage people to walk through the neighborhoods and meet their neighbors and meet new friends and exchange information And that's been a great source of joy for myself and my wife these last 35 years or so. And that's what I'd like to add to the dog discussion.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm here. My name is Jennifer Kruger. I live at 7 Intervale Road. I'm also an advocate for an action park in Needham. I have a middle schooler and a high schooler. I do a lot of time shuttling them all around the state to find these types of places for them to do the things they love. They have never found that team sports worked for them, but they have found a community through these types of action sports. And a place for them to gather would be really important for them.
Great. Thank you. You guys, I am loving this polite applause. I really appreciate it. This is like such a feel good meeting. I love it. We still don't have anyone on Zoom. So come on up.
Thanks. Hi,
Hi.
everybody. My name is Richard Di Natale, and I live at 6 Mayo Ave. And I'm in support of the dog park in off leash. The one thing and the only thing I'd ask the committee to consider would be just to come down behind Paula one day or other areas in the morning where people gather with their pets. And you know, Bill did a great job, Mr. Dewey did a great job, and everybody was supportive of it. You know, I don't need to get into that and start talking about that, but see how happy everybody is first thing in the morning at 6:30. And I know, you know, there's a crew of us there. We talk about Needham politics. We talk about what's going on throughout the course of the day. We meet other people. The dogs are happy. Everybody's happy. And it's not the same when you walk around town and you got a leash and the dog's pulling on you. And, you know, it's not the same. You go down, you meet in a gathering place, wherever that's going to be. But I think it's very important that everybody meets in an area in their neighborhood. That's how I've been a resident here since 1996. That's how I got to meet a lot of people. So the only thing I'm asking is, you know, when you're making your decision, before you make your decision, come down to Pollard or go wherever you're gonna, you know, wherever you live in the general area and see how happy everybody is. Thank you.
I'm Judy Shuby. I live at 516 Central Ave.
Can't hear you.
No, that's for the people on Zoom. You've got to reject.
I'm Judy Shuby. I live at 516 Central Avenue. I moved to Needham shortly before COVID, and I had been in the area for 2 years before that, but I really didn't know that many people. And I actually met Paul and Lisa through another person when the first pickleball court was placed on the basketball court at Mills, and we started playing then, and Paul had already been playing. But I started a Facebook group. We have over 900, but almost 950 now members. Most are in the United States. There's a few people from weird places that they really don't count, but we have over 70% are from Needham. We have so much fun. There's, if you come by Millsfield or high school, whatever, when they're open and we're playing, there's laughter and silliness and physical activity and all age groups up into the 80s. So I just want to emphasize that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Chow from 96 Maple Street. And I just want to say I'm very supportive of the off-leash ideas as well as the pickleball ideas. I'm actually a tennis player, not a pickleball player, but I will say that what I like about the common ideas between the off-leash and the pickleball ideas is that it doesn't really require any, if any, significant or at all additional financial resources to do, because we're talking about time slicing the existing resources that we have. So pickleball players say that there's the greatest usage of pickleball players in the early morning on the Mills courts, and there's not many tennis players, then maybe it doesn't make sense to time slice it, to carve out that time specifically for pickleball players, and other times perhaps where there's more tennis player playing to carve out the time for them. So will coexist in a much more organized understanding. And same with the off-leash resources as well. The town forest is not utilized perhaps in the early morning, so maybe that's a good time to allow dog walkers to do off-leash activity in the mornings when there aren't any other pedestrians or other kids playing or doing other activities there. So it's minimal, if any, financial impact. So I think we can implement these ideas much sooner than later without any additional administrative consideration. That's all I wanted to point out.
Thank you. Thank you.
David Wortham, 123 Beaufort Ave. Thank you all for giving us the opportunity to talk. I'm one of the dog people in the audience here, and I want to kind of piggyback on what's been said regarding the off-leash hours. We didn't have off-leash hours. To me, that's, may solve some problems where we might not need extra space, that there is space out there. And we can kind of carve out some time in the morning, giving people the opportunity to meet up, let their dogs frolic and have a good time. And then the field becomes open for the kids to use the playground, and sports teams to use the fields, kind of giving us everyone the best use of the fields, and everyone getting the opportunity to use it. Maybe save the town some money by not having to redo something that we already have. And I know there's a lot of other dog people in the crowd there. I don't know if you want everyone to come up and say their piece, or.
Well, if the sentiment is similar, I tell you what, why don't we do this? Why don't we have a show of hands? Who's here for the off-leash dog parks? A lot of people here for off-leash dog parks. Okay, I can see this is a very popular idea. Put your hands down. Who's here for pickleball? All right, that's fine. Don't feel bad. I got 1,000 emails today. I know that pickleball people are it's all good. Yeah. All right, and we also heard about skate park tonight. Raise your hand if you're here for the skate park. I know that's a large group too, so that's bad. Okay.
We're happy to have dogs there.
More and more holidays. All right, so is there anyone who does want to speak, who hasn't had a chance to talk about the thing that they really want to talk about, or feels that there's a point that hasn't? All right, come on up.
It may be a little repetitive. Hi, my name is Mark Ward, I'm at 268 Harris. So I've been walking my dog and visiting different parks and Needham for 18 years. And I would think 99.9% of the time, everybody else who walks them with me are wonderful people with wonderfully behaved dogs. So I think any decision we make should be made with that in mind. It's only the 0.01% of the problems, right? And so I just think it's really important to recognize that. And the other thing I would say to be repetitive is that I've met some of my best friends through this process, owning, on the street, meeting people with their dogs, and it's been wonderful. And I think we should be encouraging about that in our community.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm a dog owner as well.
Come on and have a seat and introduce yourself.
Yeah, Monique Harrington, I'm at 36 Dell Avenue. And it's been wonderful getting to know the group of the dog owners. I feel it's important also to add and lead into what everybody else has been saying about dogs being off leash as part of the identity of our welcoming town of Needham. It also, since COVID, gives us an opportunity to interact and to breathe life and vitality back into the community, and people see that. And so many people have experienced joy from meeting my dog along the way. And I've appreciated being able to give back to my community by sharing my dog and my dog's affection. So not being able to do that as much, to me, doesn't really remind me of the Needham that I've known as much long as I've been a dog owner. So to me, it's been very integral to the identity of a welcoming community that Needham is and all that it could be.
Okay, thank you. I just want to call out once again to our folks online. It seems like things are kind of coming to a consensus in the room. So if you want to comment, probably best to speak now or email and okay, because we have one. Or you've been encouraging. Okay, Michael. You're on mute, Michael. Michael, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Michael Leish. I live at 21 Colton Park, which is an address committee member Geddes may be familiar with, former owner. I want to emphasize all the points for those of us who are participating remotely. I was surprised, having been in this town for 8 years, to actually know a majority of those who spoke out already because of our connections with dogs and the social interactions we have. I am someone who loves being with my dog about as much as anything. I am currently traveling probably 5 days a week outside of Needham to be able to gain that enjoyment. And I really just want to emphasize the earlier comment that the resource allocation for this request really is zero. I think we're talking about finding creative ways to use the precious public resources that we have, early hour or late afternoon opportunities when spaces are not otherwise being used would be a phenomenal addition to the community. And among the locations that was not mentioned, the Needham Golf Course is a place that I have spent literally hundreds of hours with my dog over the winter months. It's a space that is by lease dedicated to Needham community members for activities that do not interfere with golf during the winter months. It is an incredible resource, and it's one until very recently that was used very heavily by dog owners. And that is one of the spaces I would encourage us to think about in terms of creative solutions. There's been a recent enforcement effort there, and it's a space which, if not used by dog owners, is dozens and dozens of astoundingly beautiful open space that is not used by anyone. So echo all the points made earlier, and I appreciate the committee's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we see that comment, Daniel. Thank you for making it.
Just to this point, there are people in local towns around surrounding that are having all year round outdoors.
Okay.
That's what it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe not that, it's not Saturday.
Yeah, no, I get that. And we heard that in the emails year round, so that's noted. Okay, anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, come on up.
My name is Gavin.
Yeah, if you just speak up.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
My name is Gavin. I live on 700 Youth Avenue, and this is what my friend wrote for at the skate park. If Needham has a skate park, our town will be a happier, healthier, and more active town. The town of Needham does not have enough activities to do, especially ones that work out your body. Skateboarding is an Olympic sport. Think of how proud our community would be if they saw Needham kids in the Olympics. This would give Needham a better reputation and overall a better economy. Or a healthy economy, sorry.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, anyone else? All right, well, we really appreciate not only your comments, but how pleasant everyone has been tonight, and how positive everyone's been. That's makes it very easy to accept all the comments and take them home and process them. Okay. So we'll be considering this at our next meeting. I want to remind you that April 3rd will be our next public meeting. So we'll take this, process it, move it along, and then come back to you and everyone else with some sort of finished product or on the road to being finished product for feedback. So we need only a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. Okay. We need to vote on that. Okay, all right, let's vote. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good job.